guys are ready? Okay, Discovery Track. We're back with more quality. We just heard from Conviva. Now we're hearing from TouchStream talking again about quality in streaming. This is Quality Day, and it's very important. Brenton Au of TouchStream has flown all the way from Australia just to deliver this presentation and a few other things. And he's going to be talking to us, and at the end of it, one of you is going home with this very lovely GoPro Hero 4 Silver Edition. So, Brenton, teach us.
Great, thanks very much. Hi, I'm Brenton Au from TouchStream. We're a live stream monitoring solution. Basically, we poll the CDN for your live stream, so you can figure out what your live streams are in our system, and we check them every minute, 24 hours, 24/7. So it's a very good way to make sure that all your streams are available and working. So we'll just have a little bit of a story. Now, a lot of these numbers, these are kind of numbers that you see all over the internet. You know, I think we all know the reason we're here is that the internet streaming media is huge, and it's growing. And there's obviously a lot of money involved and a lot of data being consumed. I mean, Cisco and all of those other vendors keep telling us, you know, that I think by 2020, 80-something% of the world's internet traffic will be video. So some of the other numbers that particularly our friends at Conviva will talk about a lot is what it means when quality is poor. So, you know, this 33% abandonment rate when there's poor quality video, you know, all these different rates, and Conviva and various other companies put out a lot of great data about that. And this is the problem that we're trying to address. So just a little bit of fun for now. A little video.
Hey, we've got a problem here.
What did you do?
Nothing, I stirred the tanks.
Whoa. Hey.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
So that's just a little fun video, and it's about, you know, what is it the problem that we're trying to address here? And it's like things go wrong. What did they do wrong? I stirred the tanks. You know, geez, I didn't know that was going to affect anything. So and what it did is just everything blows up, and then all the screens are flashing. Nobody knows what's going on. There is no clear indicator of what the actual problem is. Everything's flashing, everything's going wrong. So it's being able to home in on what the problem is. And what does this mean when you do have a problem? You know, how does this actually affect your business? And we've got some interesting numbers here. We actually do monitor some serious live stream events that people actually pay for. So big games that people pay money for, and it's very easy for the numbers to add up very, very quick. When you have a problem, people will actually, if they've paid $10 for a day pass for the event, and you know, have a lot of abandonment, everyone's going to start calling in customer support and asking for a refund. Or if you're a general subscription service, maybe they won't renew next month or whatever. But it can happen very quickly. And actually, incidentally, the company that we worked with on this, basically when there was a problem, everyone would be sort of tweeting, "Oh my God, I got a problem. I've got a refund from the provider of this." Well, actually, what then actually happened was a lot of people who didn't have a problem also asked for a refund because the company knew there was a problem. So these sort of numbers can add up really fast, and numbers can get really big. And this is just on one event. So, you know, what are the things that make people scream? You know, as you've just heard from Conviva, but you know, these are the things that everyone knows: stalled video, buffering, won't start, you know, or very poor quality. That, you know, people just can't stand it. People say, "No, this isn't what I paid for. I want my money back." So what we did was said, well, what if you could know about these problems before the customers complain? Now, so having some in-stream monitoring is great. That's really, really important. We actually always advise that you do in-stream and what we call synthetic monitoring. So if you can actually see these problems before they happen, monitoring all the endpoints and get really good information to help you quickly identify the root cause, then you're able to nip these problems in the bud before they become customer problems, and obviously not suffer the problem of people asking for their money back. So what if we could actually reduce the abandonment rate by 25 percentage points? So a little bit on how we can do that. How our product works, this live stream monitoring, is that we have in the middle here we have our core system, which lives in Amazon. It's a huge environment, uses lots of Amazon technology. And then we have these cloud pollers. Now these cloud pollers can be distributed anywhere on the internet, and we have them at strategic places all over the world. And these are the things that actually make the request. So if you're geolocated in a specific country, it is monitoring from in-country. Or in the case of the US, we have some on the East Coast, some on the West Coast, some in the middle. So you're getting a bit of a geographical dispersion. And we're making these requests to the CDN, so all the major, any CDN, it doesn't matter which one, but we work closely with the major ones. And also potentially, or if you package yourself, we'll monitor the origin as well. It's very important. If you do that, it's a great way of seeing if the problem is an encoding problem. So if CDN goes red and origin goes red, then actually it's an encode problem. So look at your encoding stack. If it's just the CDN that goes red, then look at your delivery chain, your CDN partner. So that's the simple view of how, high-level view of how our system works. And then, so what we have is we have these very high-level dashboards. So the top-level dashboard here looks like this, and basically it's showing you the worst performing streams. And this is over time, 30 minutes, and there's the one failure there, two failures there, and then the major outages down the bottom. So that's kind of giving your operations team an overview of what your current live status is of all of your live streams. And we have customers with over 1,000 live streams. And then you just roll it up into the top. Here are the worst ones. So we monitor many thousands of streams, but even for individual customers, we've got at least two that are over 1,000. And then what we do from a details perspective is when we see a problem, these little red dots up here, you can actually click on those and get the actual detailed call breakdown. And in that call breakdown, right down the bottom there, you'll see, I think it's a 404 error or something like that. But basically, it couldn't get something. And so we're capturing everything that we do every time we do it. So that when you do have a problem, you can get right down to the deep detail really quickly, one click down to the detail, and you can actually share that with you can share that with a CDN, and they can help you help troubleshoot the problem. So it's really about seeing the problem straight away, seeing exactly what it is, being able to share that information with your CDN provider, or it could be a cloud encoder or someone like that, being able to share that information, and it's very, very detailed information, which they can then look at their system and say, well, this is what the cause is, and potentially fix the problem. So anecdotally, in Australia, we monitor all the major sports, including AFL, which is our great Australian rules football. If anyone's ever seen it, it's real men's football, as opposed to that other one you play here. But basically, it's a it's a great app. It's one of the highest grossing apps in the Apple App Store. And for the finals, because people, when they have those games on, they start encoding early in the morning, and they encode just a slide or something. We're testing it then, before the app's even switched in to that stream. And during the finals, we saw a problem first thing in the morning. The game wasn't until 2 o'clock. We identified the problem, saw the root cause. It took them 3 hours to fix it. They fixed it, the game went on, finals game, and the streaming worked perfectly. No problem at all. Now, it took 3 hours, the game takes 2 hours. So if they had have seen that at the point where users started to look at it, and other monitoring, in-player monitoring, sort of said, oh, it's failing for everyone, they never would have fixed it. So no one would have seen that game. So everyone would have asked for their money back. So these are the sorts of problems that we can identify and get you right to the root cause of the problem early, very early, preferably before people are watching it. So we have a lot of, that was the key things. We have other metrics, we have other graphs, we have reports and other things that you can look at. So there's just a few more pictures of things. Actually, sorry, I jumped ahead of my presentation. That was one. The first one was one I just spoke of. The other one that we had was basically was actually caused by a caching problem on the CDN. The rogue if anyone knows, a little bit technical, is a concept of E-tags, which actually dictate your caching time. Well, they actually weren't using E-tags, they were actually using the CDN's own caching rules, but a rogue E-tag came into the header. Now, what that actually meant was that the manifest got over-cached and would stay longer than it was. So basically the stream stalled. It was just showing the same looping video. With our detailed breakdown, you could actually, we capture all the headers, we capture lots of interesting information. We're actually able to identify that this was the cause. It took a while, but we had the data. Because we're capturing it all the time, we had the data that was available to them, which wouldn't be available any other way, for them to actually, well, we actually worked on it with them and identified that this E-tag was happening. Every time we saw it stalled, there's an E-tag in it when it shouldn't have one. So it's just, we capture a lot of really good detailed information that helps basically helps you capture problems that you wouldn't have even thought of. So back to the what you do, and obviously we picked a big numbered event, but as you see, the 2,000 subscribers, we're reducing the abandonment rate by 25 percentage points. We could potentially save millions of dollars on some of these individual events. So this is a very high profile one. It might not be the same for everyone, but you get the point. Just by reducing that abandonment rate somewhat, you can potentially, the solution pays for itself, first time you see a problem. So that's, hopefully a nice big number for you to save. So basically, our motto is keeping you streaming smoothly. No relationship with Microsoft whatsoever, but that's our aim. So so that's. Did anyone have any questions?
Round of applause for our presenter, Brenton. Very good job. That whole thing streamed very smoothly to me. We have several minutes for questions now. So who is going to be first? Who has a problem needs to be overcome? We're not doing the drawing unless we get a question. Got one? Someone give me a question. No? Well, a very quiet bunch. Okay, thank you. Thank you for saving us, Mark.
Can you describe the network of probes that you would deploy? You said that it's cloud-based, or is it just that you're pointing at a URL?
It's all cloud-based. So we provision our POPs, which are basically virtual servers, and basically we just need a VPS provider that supports Ubuntu. Our probe, our POP, is basically an Ubuntu appliance. So we just put it on anything that does virtualization, and there's, as I'm sure you know, there's hundreds and if not thousands of them. We start with the top tier. We use Amazon, Azure, SoftLayer, and a couple of other big names, and then we use a lot of second tier ones to get to sort of slightly quirky places, or get better geographic. In the south of France, there'll be some little player down there. So we can basically distribute them anywhere you need them.
So as a follow-up to that, is this a service offering that you provide,
yes,
as opposed to me going out and buying for it?
Yeah, okay. The whole thing is totally cloud hosted. There's also, the other thing is there's nothing to install. Like in-player stuff, you have to compile, the part of something into your app or into your player or whatever. Ours is nothing. It's completely hands off. You don't have to change anything of your own infrastructure. You just basically have to supply the manifest, the URLs for where your stream endpoints are, and multiple CDNs, they'll obviously be different URLs. But yeah, all you do is supply the manifest and the rest just works.
Anyone else? Okay, looks like not. Okay, Discovery Trackers, welcome back. It's a multi-platform world, and you know you need to get your content on so many devices. It's complicated, but Mirror Image is here to take the sting out of it. Please welcome Tristan O'Dwyer with his talk, Deploying an OTT Strategy for Distributing Content to IP-Enabled Devices. Tristan.
Thank you, Troy. My name is Tristan O'Dwyer. I'm Director of Solutions Engineering at Mirror Image. And thanks everyone for coming out today. So this session is about, as the title suggests, deploying an OTT strategy for distributing content to IP-enabled devices. So I'm going to talk about the various options open to content owners to distribute their content OTT. I'll talk about the various merits of the various approaches, and I'll also talk you through a new solution that Mirror Image has developed that, as Troy says, takes the pain out of that, takes the sting out of that. So we'll start with some definitions. I mean, I'd imagine if you're attending this talk, you know what OTT is already, but we'll just start with some definitions. So OTT means delivering content over the internet as opposed to traditional cable or satellite networks. Now, it also has the additional sense of delivering straight to an IP-enabled device, and usually via a native app as opposed to a browser. So someone watching a video on their desktop on YouTube or a video embedded in a news website, that really isn't OTT in the sense that we understand it. Just by way of understanding the market in the first instance, we'll look at some numbers. So I got these from USA Today, a fairly recent article. They should help us understand what the market looks like. So the headline figure there is that 1 in 5 homes have cut the cord, so they've got no cable or satellite subscription whatsoever. So the assumption there is that the majority of this consumption will shift towards OTT or at the very least online on a desktop. And the other interesting number there is half of all homes have at least one streaming media device, and that's up from 17% just 2 years ago. So we can see how rapid that growth is. So in terms of devices, so what are people using to watch content OTT? So the #1 connected device are gaming consoles still. Now it's probably worth pointing out here that you know, it's possible that not everyone uses these devices to consume video content because obviously they're multi-purpose entertainment devices. So gaming is probably still the primary function there. But by far the biggest growth we've seen is in streaming players. So these are your Apple TVs, your Rokus, Firestick, Chromecast, that kind of thing. So what are the advantages to content owners and content creators of going direct to consumer? So let's say, imagine the case of a small faith-based broadcaster or say a medium-sized sports franchise. So an OTT app can either complement or it can indeed replace a linear TV channel. But it doesn't have to be an either-or proposition. It's all about increasing reach, getting your content in front of the most amount of people. You tend not to have transponding or multiplexing costs. Again, these can be prohibitive for smaller broadcasters. I know in the UK that uplink costs are now about £30,000 UK a month, so it's quite a significant monthly outlay for smaller broadcasters. OTT is cheaper than satellite distribution up to about 10 million viewers, and the costs tend to scale with growth. So if nobody watches, you're generally not incurring distribution costs, unlike satellite or cable. So what are the options here? So again, let's imagine if we're you know, that small faith-based broadcaster or the sports franchise, the small content owner, and we're sold on the benefits of OTT. We know this is something we need to do. You know, where do we start? What are our options for getting an app onto the various platforms? So generally speaking, there's 3 ways of going about it. You can build it yourself, you can pay someone else to build it, or you can use a self-service build and deployment platform. And we're going to talk about that last option in a bit more detail later on. So just in terms of trying to build it yourself, from an architectural standpoint, that's what a kind of a Netflix-like platform would look like. So as you can see, that's fairly complex and fairly involved. In terms of the staff resources that you would need if you were a broadcaster or a content creator, you'd probably need a UX designer, somebody with specific app experience. You'd need a designer with experience of designing across all the various platforms. You would need a programmer with experience of different languages, because all the platforms have used different languages. You'd need a QA tester. You'd need DevOps to deploy the application. So, I mean, it's highly unlikely that your typical small broadcaster or content owner would have these kind of resources to hand, which leads on to the second option, which is outsource it, pay somebody else to do it. So I did some shopping around and got, you know, some estimates for what it would cost to build out an app like this. So the estimates range from about $20,000 or so for a small, straightforward app, right up to about $150K for an enterprise level app. And it's important to remember that these are minimum viable products, so they're not particularly well featured. It's also worth remembering that these are cost per platform, so this is going to multiply quite quickly if you want to get on all the platforms. So I mentioned earlier that there was a third way of doing this. There was this other option, which could be a lot more attractive to content owners and smaller broadcasters. So Mirror Image have recently released a product called Campfyre, which is a what you see is what you get OTT application builder. So there are no programming skills required. It deploys to Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, iPhone and Android mobile, and Roku. We've got support for Samsung Smart TV and Xbox coming soon. It allows you to create an infinite number of channels, and within each channel you can create an infinite number of playlists. You can manage and update the content. It also supports live streaming, so you can do live events, and it's got support for VAS compliant ad servers, so you can maintain your existing commercial relationships with ad servers. So what does the customer need to do? So this is what the interface looks like. Like I said, it's drag and drop. So for each platform, you drag and drop your high-level artwork. You add a channel name and description. And each platform obviously has different art specifications, which reflect the different requirements across each of the platforms. You then start uploading some videos. So you can either upload from local storage via file browser, or you can do FTP bulk uploads. So there's also a neat feature as well that allows you to pull content direct from a URL. So this is a kind of a neat workflow feature. Say if you're a content creator, you've got an existing YouTube channel, and you want to migrate all that content across onto the app, you can do that by plugging in the URL. So it takes some of the pain out of the workflow. The platform supports metadata tagging, so this is important because that allows you to easily create playlists, and it also aids in content discovery as well for the end user through the search function. So once you've got all your video in there, you can create playlists. So a playlist can obviously be a single piece of content, it can be a sequence of videos, or it can even be a live stream. So you can have an infinite number of playlists sitting within the app. And you repeat this process for each of the platforms. So if you wish, you can have identical content across each platform, or you can create different playlists and have different content on various platforms. And you can manage and update that content then by creating new playlists, or deleting old ones as appropriate. So once you've dragged in your artwork, you've uploaded your videos, you've created your playlists, the channel then goes through an initial approval process, and Mirror Image takes care of all this on your behalf. So the approval process and turnaround times, they vary by platform. So for example, on Roku, if you want to launch a private channel, which is a channel with a PIN code to access, you just deploy straight to the platform. There's no approval process there. The approval process for Apple TV takes longer. It can take up to a month in some cases, although Apple are constantly working on improving that. Now, once the channel is actually deployed, once it's deployed to the platform, you just manage your playlists and delete and create new playlists as appropriate, so you can keep the content fresh and updated. So we launched this in beta recently. We've got a full release due shortly. So already we've had a couple of content creators use Campfyre to launch OTT apps with the beta version. So this is Road to Indy. It's an IndyCar channel sponsored by Mazda. So this is what the high-level app icon looks like on Apple TV or Roku. It's a screenshot of iOS. So each of these thumbnails obviously represents a playlist, and like I said, you can have an infinite number of these. So like I said before, the playlist, it can be a live stream, it can be a piece of content. Live streaming is obviously very useful for sports broadcasters or any kind of event that is best enjoyed live rather than on demand. So we've got a number of other sports brands as well going through the approval process as we speak. and they're looking forward to launching soon. And it's easy to see why they chose this method of deployment, because it's fast, it's cost effective, and it allows you to dip your toe in the water without committing large amounts of expenditure. If you want to do some further reading, so that USA Today article I spoke about at the beginning, that was published on the 10th of May. That's called Cutting the Cord, A Bright Streaming Future. There was another interesting article in Variety back in March. 1 in 2 households with internet access has TV hooked up for streaming. Probably the most interesting there is the Ampere report, which shows that direct-to-consumer OTT is a more cost-effective approach than satellite, and you can find that full report online. For the more technically minded, the eltrovo.com blog, that goes into a lot of detail on the kind of architecture that sits behind the likes of Netflix. And the Commentum website explains the app development process in a lot more detail. So I hope everyone got a good insight into what the options are there for content creators. Thanks for listening. We're going to open up the floor to some questions. And also, if you stick around for another couple of minutes, we're going to announce the winner of the Roku 3. So everybody in the room is in with a chance. So please wait around for that announcement.
Round of applause for Tristan. Woo! All right, we have plenty of time for questions. So who is confused about multi-platform streaming? I see a hand. Hold on. I see three hands. I'll get you all.
Could you explain the difference? I didn't understand. The cost is less expensive if you go direct through OTT versus broadband. Don't you need broadband bandwidth delivery?
It's cheaper than satellite or cable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As far as the platforms that your apps are going on, did you say that was on the gaming platforms also, Xbox?
Yeah, so there's support for Samsung Smart TV and Xbox coming soon. So we've built out the back end on that, but there's some commercial terms you have to agree with the platforms.
Do you guys also offer like household management? You didn't really go into also things like hooking up to a paywall or
yeah,
something?
so in terms of monetization, we try and steer clear of that because we want people to use their existing commercial relationships. So you can plug in an API to a VAS compliant server and have ads served, or you can monetize it through the platform. So you can monetize it through Apple or through Amazon. So you could have it as a sold app. You can charge $5 for it or whatever. I think Apple as well allows some to have some sort of subscription model over their Apple TV apps now as well. So you would have that relationship with Apple and not us.
Are you a destination as well as an app? Destination and URL?
I don't understand what you mean by that.
Access to platform or the my service through URL?
No, it's entirely app-based. It's not browser-based.
Does the app include a recommendation engine in it?
It doesn't, but that's something that's in the pipeline.
Okay, one back here.
What kind of data analytics can you expect to get from porting to various platforms?
Yeah.
Just in general, best and worst.
Right, so there is an analytics dashboard within the platform. Now that's, bandwidth delivery, and that kind of thing. So that's pointing at our CDN and it's pulling analytics from the CDN. In terms of how many people downloaded your app, how many people are watching your app, that analytics, as far as I know, comes from the platform, and I don't know what kind of visibility you have there.
Over here. Just a quick question on the setup. Apologies if I missed it. Is this service Campfyre require that we use your CDN?
Yes, that's the whole idea. So in terms of pricing models, and again, the first version is coming out soon, so I think what we've been proposing is a $500 setup fee, and then $500 a month, which would include 250 gigs of delivery, 250 gigs of storage. So it's a fairly cheap way of getting to market.
Okay, one more over here. We got plenty of time.
Did you say how many gigs, sir?
250.
Hi, The thing is that can the content reside on something on a YouTube or Vimeo or some other platform and you can stream it?
No, and again, the sort of people that, and the sort of companies that are interested in this are very often content owners who have a YouTube channel already, but when you've got stuff on YouTube, you're giving away your branding, your eyeballs are being taken off looking at related videos that have nothing to do with your content, and you're losing out all your analytics and your data as well. So this is an alternative to a YouTube channel, very much so.
And so the content owner just gives the content and you automatically make the apps, like a cookie cutter app, is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is, yeah. So we've built the apps and we've given people a UI to, like you say, it's a cookie cutter. It allows them then to deploy and manage to, we've built it once and use it again many times, reuse it many times.
Okay, and just one other comment. I was looking at your site, campfyre.com, about a week ago, and the URL was nothing there. So I don't know.
That's probably because we've pulled the beta platform.
What is it?
Because it was in beta, and we've got a full release coming out soon, so we probably pulled the beta platform. That's probably why.
I just want to point out to you. Thank you.
Okay, what do we got here? A lot of questions, a lot of good questions. It looks like that is done now.